continuing on, we're now on part 2. This is the second part of transitions when it concerns your vision, how you're training your vision, what your eyes need to be doing to be successful on transitions. Your vision is the more complicated part of teaching yourself how to do transitions properly, because you're the only one that can tell if you're doing it properly. Except for a very small handful of extremely experienced instructors, not very many people can look at a person's body language or the way they're moving a gun around and know if they're doing something incorrectly with your vision. So this is the part where people really get it wrong. And this is a part that I think is especially important as a quality assurance measure, and as in an experimental sense, you need to see what's going on to know if you're doing things properly or not. Okay, so as we talked about in the last installment, it's really important that your eyes always beat the gun to where you're going, right? And that's a verbiage that I use a lot in classes. It's really important that you're looking at very small spots on a target. I usually say a golf ball size spot on every target because that's something people can envision, right? And it's important that you're always beating the gun to the target by finding that spot, and then you're waiting for color to show up from the sight. Okay, so when you're working on vision, you're going to set up something that looks something like this, right? I have just a random smattering of targets. I'm pretty much just going to choose a random target order, and I'm going to move my eye precisely from each spot on targets to the next in sequence. And I'm going to do that with only my eyes, right? And basically visualizing, if you will, I'm rehearsing what my eyes are going to need to do when I'm actually shooting through the array. Okay, so for the purposes of this demonstration, right, I'll say I'm going to go target 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm picking an intentionally random and confusing order. I'm going to stand right here at the distance that I'm going to engage that, and without my hands in the picture at all, right? I'm just going to look from spot to spot at where I want my eyes to go. And you can see I'm being a little bit dramatic about how I'm doing this with my head, because I want you to see the intensity with which I'm trying to visualize this process. Right? Okay. And once I have that down where it feels like my eyes basically want to just follow this process naturally, all I'm essentially going to do is let the gun follow what I'm seeing, right? So I'm not mashing on the trigger, I'm just using my sight as the indicator for success. I look at a spot, I paint it with color. Once I see that, I look to the next spot, paint that with color, so on and so forth. Right, you see the gun's moving around very smoothly. It doesn't look like my body's trying really hard to make this happen. The vision is done using my eyes. Like I said in the last installment, I'm not using my core or my legs to try to push this around. It all happens based on the vision. Right. Right, you see the gun? Once I'm doing everything properly visually, it's really easy to see everything that's going on. I'm doing a really good job of being aggressive with my eyes, getting my eyes out ahead of the gun. I see the spot, I just wait for the sight to show up. Once that happens, I move on to the next. This is the same thing that happens in live fire, it's just it's punctuated by a lot of gunshots and banging around, so it could be more difficult to see what's going on. In a sense, once you know what to do with all these sort of parts that I'm talking about, dry fire is a much easier environment to learn transitions because of the fact you don't have the distraction of the sight flashing around, you don't have the noise or the gun flapping around in your hands. It's easy to see what's going on. It's very, very important that you do the right things visually so that you can see what's happening. And as a rule of thumb, if you don't see what's happens on the target, or you're not sure where the sight went, that tells you that you weren't looking at the spot at the time the gun came in, right? So a lot of really good important things to think about here. If I think of anything else we need to talk about, I'll throw it in another video. But this has been transitions in a nutshell. This is how you dry fire transitions. In a nutshell, this is how you train transitions in dry fire. It's a very important skill. Okay? Until next time, enjoy.